So, mate, look, I guess the whole reason why I brought you on and I asked, extended the invitation out to you was because, being a fellow Aussie and, I think SHIBA Society has a unique story, but then also it's becoming less unique within this current space, right? The idea that communities don't mint out and then what happens to the community afterwards, or when a community gets rugged, what happens to that community when the original developers leave, what happens? We hear about the ones that 10x and whatever, but there's certain projects that they mint and then for whatever reason, whether it's rugged or the developers leave, we don't hear about anymore. Let's talk about how you came to find SHIBA Society and how you got involved.
So me being, inquisitive and, I was interested in this stuff, like it was just mind-boggling. I'm thinking like, well, what is this? So obviously it was back in August and I started doing research on the Rarity Tools website and I see SHIBA Society. So I'm like, this looks kind of cool.
And it does look cool, right? Like the art looks pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I went into the project, I had a look at it and I was saying, okay, it's going to be minting at the end of August.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, cool, I've got a bit of time.
And what was the mint price at that time?
0.035 Ether.
Okay.
Which was about $130, 130, $140. So anyway, so before mint, a good friend of mine, I was like, hey man, his name's Henry. He's like, hey man, I found this thing called NFTs. And he's like, what's NFTs, bro? So I was supposed to mint out 10,000 NFTs. So
yes, I remember, because the original developers reached out to me and they said, hey, would you mind doing a video and then we'll throw you some SHIBA Society NFTs. And I didn't get around to it all for whatever reason. I don't know. It was good timing too, because Shiba Inu, the meme coin, had just gotten traction and everything else. So from a marketing perspective, it was it should have gone gangbusters and sold out. Well, 10,000, right?
Yeah, exactly. So originally they wanted to launch 10,000 NFTs. So they basically asked the community and they basically said, nah, we're going to cap it at 2,000. During that time, I thought, oh, okay, myself and Henry are going to have enough time so that, we can get in to get the 10,000. And then I realized, oh, damn, they've capped it at 2,000 and they shut it off. Basically, we didn't get enough time to mint. They're like, oh, we've already minted all the 2,000. You've got to go to secondary market. And I'm like, secondary market? Like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, OpenSea. I'm like, OpenSea? I'm like, okay. And then I sort of heard about OpenSea early on in the year.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what it was. That's where it all began. And
So do you remember the timeline between when they went on to OpenSea, the secondary market? Do you remember how long it took for the original developers to say, can someone consider taking it over?
It was a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And up until that point, what was your experience with communities and NFT communities?
Zero, nothing.
Right. Right. So I mean, at that point, how did you feel? Like you had already bought a few, and what was your idea anyway? Were you were hoping to flip them for profit, or? Well,
originally, I had when I originally got involved in SHIBA, I had a bigger picture already. Yeah. I thought man, SHIBA, this is huge. Initially, when I looked at it, I loved the art. So I was showing it to my mate, and we were just scrolling. Oh man, I want to get this one. I want to get that one. This looks sick. This is awesome, And so initially, big picture for me and him, we were really driven by the bigger idea of what SHIBA was, and then the original founders, they obviously developed their roadmap. And it seemed somewhat legitimate back then because obviously we were a little bit naive, because obviously it was a new thing. We didn't really know much about, the industry, and they had plans on their roadmap to build out, generation 2.
Right. So you were thinking about the IP, the intellectual property, the brand, and everything else that came with SHIBA Society.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was just huge. I thought, well, this is awesome. I never had a doubt in my mind that the project wasn't going to be successful at all.
Yeah. So when it happened after a month, what were you thinking?
I was gobsmacked. I didn't know what to expect because I was predominantly on Twitter like 24/7.
Yeah.
So when I got involved with SHIBA Society, I was teeing up, like I was chatting to big influencers on Twitter that were involved in SHIBA. And I was saying, hey, this new NFT project's come out. It's all about SHIBA. And because I had already built the relationships with these influencers, they were like, yeah, man, we'll jump on board with you. So I was basically teeing up the promotions for SHIBA Society to run with these influencers. Like I knew, like I've got a really good relationship with the top influencer for SHIBA on Twitter.
So you were like heavily involved with the project then. For you to go out and do all this extra stuff on the side, like you were already kind of involved in not only the community but maybe the development side of it. Did they reach out to you to say, hey, can you, or was it just purely a community effort?
It was just like purely community effort because like I loved the project.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, and because I was already, doing some promos with these other SHIBA influencers before.
Yeah.
It just sort of seemed that it just naturally, happened.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And this is what I talk about when I say the advantage of having a community member or community members that share your vision and your goal, because then there's people like you, right, that go out on their own accord and do stuff for the actual project and help out without the developing team reaching out to you to do that. Like you've gone out and done this because you believe in the project and wanted to help out with the community and grow this brand, this SHIBA Society.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. They never asked me to do any of that at all at the start, and I said,
yeah.
I said, no problem. Like I've already got experience doing this. I enjoy doing this, like reaching out to people. I'll do it,
Yeah.
And then I came back to them with a list of influencers. I said, yeah, I've spoken to these people. They're, they're willing to help and do some promotions and help SHIBA Society community and the project.
How did it all come about that you took on? Would it be fair to say that you are the lead now of SHIBA Society, or I don't know, how would you describe it?
Yeah, so basically they handed it over.
Yeah. So what was it, a community announcement, or did they reach out to you specifically because you were doing a lot of the, behind the scenes promo work?
Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. So yeah, this is the interesting part.
Let's get to the juicy bit.
Yeah. So what happened was I was teeing up these promos with these Twitter influencers. And so we started doing these promotions, and it was in exchange for Shibis. So basically, SHIBA influencer would do a promotion.
Yep.
It'll run for 2-3 days or a week. That was going fine for about the first maybe 2-3 weeks into September, because they minted at the end of August. So 2-3 weeks it was going fine.
Yeah.
And then I sort of noticed on the 4th week that they weren't as active. They weren't responding back to me in like the normal time that they would.
Yeah, a telltale sign, right? Like, unfortunately, when the main dev teams start going radio silent, you get worried.
Yeah, and it was 2 guys. So, and then I got a message from them both because I was in like a group chat with them.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, we'd like to have a chat with you. Can we organize a live, a chat over the Discord?
Yeah.
I'm like, sure. I'm like, yeah, like, like what's up? I didn't think anything of it. They were quite professional. They're Aussies as well. And basically they said that because of, work and family commitments,
yeah,
they can no longer continue on with the project. Okay. Like, what do you mean? Like, we're not even a month in, and
yeah.
What do you mean? Like, and they're like, oh, well, look, we're reaching out because we're looking for someone to basically, hand over the project to. And I'm like, well, what about like the roadmap and delivering on, what you guys had originally outlaid and put on the website?
Yep.
Well, they were like, we've got some of the work from Gen 2. So they passed, over some of the designs from the Generation 2.
Yep.
And then I was like, what about the game? They didn't really give me a straightforward answer.
Yeah.
At the game.
Yep.
Until it was after the next chat. So I said to them, I go, well, what does this entail? What's my responsibility out of all of this? And they're like, well, we would like you to draft an announcement to the community.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you want me to draft the announcement?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are the founders.
Yeah.
And I just thought, like, it didn't click in my head. I'm thinking, okay, this was a bit weird.
Yes.
Like, really weird. And they're like, no, it'd be good if you write it. And I was thinking, okay. And I thought, well, straight away I thought, okay, this wasn't until after they transferred, and handed everything over that it must have been shame. They felt that they couldn't make the announcement because they felt a bit of shame about what had happened.
So during that conversation, did they pretty much lie and like tell you that they want you to take it over and run the show and kind of lead the project?
Well, they wanted me to basically, they wanted to hand it over to me.
Yeah, right.
But they weren't being straight up about it.
Yeah.
Until after what had happened.
Right.
But apart from that, like they did their best with, handing over a community wallet that had Shibas, and I used those and a few other things, which was good. So it didn't turn out as bad as what it seemed.
Was there any? And I don't know if you're allowed to disclose this, and it's okay if you don't want to, because the financial side. Did they leave you with anything within the community wallet? I understand every project they have to take out a portion because the initial investment, right? They put money into it to pay the designer, to pay, I don't know, what the Solidity contractor, the developer, whatever, right? Yeah. But was there anything left in the actual wallet for you guys for you to use on? Was it just
crumbs?
Crumbs. All right.
Crumbs.
Yep.
Crumbs. Yeah, like as in the mint money was gone.
Yep. Right. So purely anything you got was from the secondary, the royalty fees or whatever
Correct.
It was. Okay.
Correct.
And this is one of my pet peeves, I suppose, as the NFT space has grown and matured. When I say matured, it's still very infantile, but as we've progressed, the idea of a game is just, it's ridiculous to me. Unless you have a fully pledged development studio backing you, or you partnered with them, then fine. But to have it on a roadmap that you would have a game is just so ridiculous. And I guess that's partly...
It's a big call.
It's a massive call. And that's why they had no answer for you, I suppose. Because I guess by reducing the NFT count from 10k to 2k, they knew they wouldn't be able to get the money, because all of a sudden they've lost 8k worth of potential, ETH, right? To fund this game of theirs. So it was never going to happen. So I mean, you've taken it over, and I guess, what was the initial sentiment? What was the initial feeling within the community at that point in time?
Yeah, I felt like I needed like a bulletproof vest, because like when I made the announcement, I had another member in the community help out.
Yep.
But then initially, when he heard about what had happened when they made the announcement, he just said, "Oh yeah, stuff this. This is this is not cool. They've taken all of the mint money. Like, what have we got left to rebuild? We've got nothing."
Yep.
But basically, what had happened was they got me to write the announcement. I made the announcement to the holders of the project.
Yeah.
And basically, just had everyone firing out questions. I mean, my good friend of mine that's in the project, like, he's got over 60 of these things.
Yeah. Henry?
Yeah.
Good on you, Henry.
Yeah. He's a good mate of mine. But basically what happened was, one of the community members found out that the founders had doxed themselves, and they started a second project. Yeah.
So really, it seems like they pretty much just lied to you, like family commitments, work commitment, whatever. We can't keep this project going. But and I'll tell you, I spoke to the lead and I said, "Oh, so you've moved to a different project?" Because I found out he moved to a different project, and he outwardly said, "Look, we learnt a lot from SHIBA Society, and we've taken everything that we've learnt from that and put it into a new project." And this is why I am dedicated to helping you guys, SHIBA Society, right? Because like, my heart goes out to these groups where I feel like there's this unjust unfairness that went on, and it wasn't a complete rug, but in a way it feels like, and very much looks like, a rug where they've taken everything that they profited from the mint and then left a community with pretty much nothing. That's it. You guys do with it as you will. And that's why it really burns me when I hear about this stuff. And when I hear that development teams have just moved on to another project, and we've just taken everything we've learnt and applied it elsewhere and made more money. It just doesn't sit right with me. But look, I guess the positive news is you, To the Moon, Ivan, and all these fantastic people have really banded together, and you're trying to do some real big things to SHIBA Society, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Dave. And it's crazy, like how I actually met Ivan and Moon.
Yeah,
like that's another even crazier story because I can go into that. But anyways, let me go back to when I made the announcement.
Yes.
So made the announcement. One of the community members found out that they doxed themselves.
Yep.
And they started up a new project. And so that's when the whole community, the holders, they just felt, really, really disappointed.
Betrayed, even.
Betrayed, yeah. A lot of betrayal. And so I've learned now, 5 months later, after joining the project, it's incredibly difficult to regain that again. Incredibly difficult.
Yep.
Yeah, and because they've obviously felt betrayed, there's no engagement. They're like, okay, well, there's a new guy come in, there's these other guys that come in. What makes them any better?
Yes.
And I feel that from them because obviously I've been a holder myself. I felt betrayed by them because obviously I had to make the announcement.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's the biggest challenge at the moment, is to kind of regain that trust within the community?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, having zero capital to lift the project off.
Yeah.
Then again, rebuilding that community is a very challenging task.
Yeah, and you touched on a good point. It's also that capital, right? At the end of the day, it's not only the trust that you have to rebuild, but it's also trying to rebuild the brand and IP. It costs money to do that, and when you've left with a community wallet that one is selling below floor price, or you're hardly making any money, or you're, like you said, we've spoken in the past, where you're sinking, you're waiting for your positions to sell at a reasonable price, so then you can
reinvest.
Reinvest into this NFT project. It's just tough on you to do that. It's unfair, but in order to rebuild and regain trust, you also need to spend money.
So in a way, it's like we're bootstrapping the project.
Yep. Mate, we all love an underdog. I swear, I'm going to pull this freaking project. I'm going to pull it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to come to SHIBA Society and really support this project, because it's one of the projects where, for whatever reason, I'm telling you, I have no idea why, but it just sits near and dear to my heart for some reason. I just feel bad for it, right? So I've gone out and bought myself a SHIB, and trying to support you guys and do the right thing by you guys. And I've seen that at least you dropped some merch. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Moon, who obviously is one of our mods, he was like, man, we've got to really get this merch going. So that guy's been amazing. He adds so much value to the community. He's basically saying, right, we have to get this merch out. So he's come up with some really awesome ideas. Myself and one of the other mods, we've actually just worked on a new hoodie, and that's to deal with the floor price. There's people that come in, they'll buy an NFT for 0.035, and then they're listing it at 0.01. Or 0.015, and you're like, dude, you've just spent 0.035. Why are you listing it for 0.015?
Yeah.
And so I gather, they must be the people that just think, okay, well, I'm not sure what I've bought. I need to get out. I need to get my money back, or I'm just cutting a loss.
Yeah, so, I'll rather get something rather than nothing kind of mentality.
Than nothing, yeah.
Yeah.
We're launching that to deal with the floor price, which has been a challenge. Now,
there's a lot of intricacies, right? There's a financial side, there's a floor price, there's community, there's engagement. There's so many moving parts when it comes to NFT projects.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. You're totally right, Dave. So many moving parts. The challenge with having a low floor price is when it comes to launching, let's say Gen 2, if your floor price for Gen 1 is low, what makes people buy Gen 2?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
100%. The thing is, like, after a month of minting, I really don't think they gave it enough time. And this is to all future projects out there. It's like, you guys need to give it time, and not just give it time, but you need to do work, right? You can't just expect. And I've spoken to so many people, so many project developers that thought it would be easy. Literally thought it would be easy, that you can just launch a project, mint out, make a bunch of money and just be done with it. But it's actually really, really hard, especially now more than ever. And to give up after such a short time, it's not fair on so many levels. It's not fair for the community. It's not fair for the NFT community, not just your own little community that you created, but the NFT community in general. For projects to just give up that early and that quickly, it's not right. And yeah, if they stuck with it, they could have done something. That's what I truly believe.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on. 100%. The thing is, though, like, they actually the founders still hold shibis.
Do they hold a lot?
They got a few.
Yeah. Right.
I stayed on board for a reason.
Yeah.
For some reason, somehow, I'm still here, and I'm going to be here till the end of the day. That we make this thing successful.
Yeah.